I could do it, put your back into it.
I could do it, put your back into it.
Don't stop, get it.
Don't stop.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mystic Rebels. God. I'm just working on theme songs. I think that one's
stolen.
Pretty original.
That's stolen.
So today we are going to talk about something that is very important to a lot of people, and you're blowing up about it on the Tickety Talk.
Oh, yeah.
You're blowing up, son.
Astrology's taken a...
I didn't say it yet, so you just kind of... I was about to reveal what we were going to talk about.
Go ahead, reveal it.
Because you don't know what we're going to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah, No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about astrology, but more importantly, myths surrounding astrology and misinformation and pop culture astrology, like I like to call it. You know, where it's kind of toxic.
It is.
So we want to shine a light on it.
It's really annoying.
It's annoying for someone like you
because, right? Because I'll come across
it's your
something.
life's work.
Well, there's that, but I'll come across something in the feed and it'll be like, manifest abundance with this, or it'll say, sun is here, so your day is going to be amazing or terrible.
If you're a Leo, you're going to be awful this next month.
And sometimes they're like, all fixed signs are going to feel this. Right. I'm like, that's not.
No.
It doesn't just hit a modality just because it is. Okay.
Well, let's talk about the first one that I think a lot of people need to learn. Is the sun sign the most important part of the chart? Let's talk about sun signs.
No.
Whoa, what?
Actually, it's so hyper focused on that it like... Okay, so the main backstory is, I think it was around the 1930s. Newspapers wanted to reach, and entertain their viewing audience. So
they wanted a bigger readership.
Yeah, and they were trying to use astrology for entertainment instead of science. So what they did is they said, you know what, the only way to really reach these people, because most of them aren't going to know their birth time anyway, especially back then where not everybody knew their birth time, even on birth certificates and whatnot, is they just said, you know what, if you're born between this...
You mean they didn't have a dad with a cell phone who, like, as soon as the baby came out, like, nope, I got it.
Yeah, no, that's me.
That was him.
No, so what they did is they said, if you're born between this marker and this marker, then you're this, and here's your horoscope. Okay. And obviously we know that as our sun sign. If you're born between this date and this date, that's where your sun sits. And all the emphasis went on that. And it's one of those things, it's almost akin to gambling. Where you hit that dopamine hit, even if it's completely wrong, you're like, what's my next horoscope? It's an addiction.
Yeah.
What's my next horoscope? Am I going to have a good day? And even if it plays out nothing like what the newspaper, the article said. And actually, that's why I got, not to go into this right now, but that's why I got into astrology, or not into it, but that's why I got really deep into it, because I wanted to debunk it. Just too many horoscopes out there, and I was just like,
well, the danger I see in horoscopes is, whenever you believe something is true or is going to happen, is true for you, and therefore you can use it for manifestation, be it good or bad.
Right.
So if the horoscope says, your husband or someone's going to be dishonest with you today, you're going to be on edge and be like, are you telling me the truth? Yeah. And then you're going to manifest that kind of response and action.
Energetically,
in your life.
that is what you're putting out there, and we're magnets.
Yeah. We are energetic beings.
Yep. Energy. I always think of our energy like magnets. Like every time I think about how...
You're such a nerd. I love it.
How energies work with each other or don't work or conflict. I just think of like the polarity of two magnets and how they would, Have you ever played with two magnets and you like put them...
I'm just watching your sexy hands do stuff right now. Like... Yes, of course I played with magnets. I'm a nerd too.
Like if you hit them at the right angle, they'll spin around. And that's just kind of how I feel about that. To get back to your question.
Sorry.
The rising sign is the most important. And it should be, since...
In the entire chart, in your opinion?
Well, everything's important.
Yeah.
But it's the foundation of who you are. Nothing else has a place.
Nothing sets up houses or,
Because you need the houses. Yeah. So it doesn't have a place other than a sign, but it's just floating.
Yeah.
without the rising sign, and understanding, each house system does it differently. I use whole signs house system, but there are so many out there. I don't know why people use Placidus, but for some people it works, or they think it works for them.
Daddy poking bears today.
Poke the bear. Poke the bear.
Placidus that.
The funny thing is people will discount whole signs because they're like, it's not accurate enough because it's too simple. The house lines up with the sign, and then every person is just in the 12 configurations.
Sometimes the things that make the most sense are the simplest. Yeah.
The thing about whole signs, though,
work
is once you learn decans and dwads and rulerships and, just kind of how to connect, stelliums versus satellidiums, all of that.
I feel like you just said a lot of big words. And stellidiums? Satellidiums.
So a stellium is a cluster of planets in a sign that are within a certain orb. They're close to each other.
Okay.
And a satellidium is planets in the same sign, but not close enough to affect each other.
Just checking the baby. She's good. She moved. Every time she moves, you guys, if you see me on my phone, I'm not texting anyone. I'm just checking on our child. She needs us.
She does. She's so lovely.
She's so lovely. We love her so much.
The rising sign is dictated by your time, which is the most fickle measurement within your birth chart.
And the importance of that is a good example of like the 5 to 10 minute variable, like how different everything can change.
Kid, if she was, I can't remember exactly now, but it was like if she was 15 minutes later or 5 minutes before, that's 3 different people she could have been, just based off of the time.
And she is a Leo rising, just like her daddy.
She waited.
Yeah.
She clipped right over, and then boom. She's at like 0 or 1 degree. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think.
But she's right there. We're going to get into cusps later, right?
Yeah.
I heard you talk about that. But the rising sign is the most important. It's your foundation. Your ascendant sits somewhere in there. And then when you hyper focus in on that, it's in one of the 3 decans within the sign. And then if you focus in even deeper, it's in a certain dwad.
Got to go deeper into the dwad.
Always go deeper into the dwad.
Now, that brings me to my next question. Everybody talks about sun sign compatibility. So, when we do tarot readings, people will be like, well, I'm a Leo and he's a Sagittarius.
Unfortunately, that's where
and usually they're referring to the sun sign, which is the
like
unfortunate thing.
99.9%, yeah.
But we want to change that.
Because it's not right.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Well, you're missing out on, like, because you and I technically, I'm a Pisces sun sign, you're a Gemini.
In general pop culture astrology, you and I are not compatible, right? Gemini and Pisces, even though they're both dual signs, are not compatible because they square each other.
Yeah.
And people just use that as the basis. Oh, he's a Pisces. Oh, she's a Virgo.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, first off, when you do synastry, compatibility, love, whatever, friendship, child, doesn't matter. You do those charts. The sun sign is one small aspect of the entire reading.
Yeah.
And the sun is, I'm mixing topics here, but the sun is not, I'll just say for now, is not as important as people think it is.
Yeah. And well, what is the sun? The sun is your vitality. Where you shine. Right?
It's where you shine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the things that make you happy.
It's like your theme, right?
Well, your rising sign's more of your theme.
Okay.
But the sun is your vitality. It's the thing that gives you essence. It's if I were to pick anything that was your soul, it would be your sun.
So it's where you can also heal. I mean, obviously there's a specific placement for
general healing. It's vitality.
Yeah.
So absolutely you can heal through your sun. You can,
like me as a Pisces sun, listening. Well, I'm also a Mercury in Pisces. So
yes, you are.
Yeah. So listening to music or singing like that immediately.
Right. Well, I mean, but Pisces, then you add in the Neptune placements and any aspects too there.
Yeah. It's so complicated.
It's a lot more complicated than people realize. And then for you specifically, your chart ruler
is Pisces.
Is in Pisces.
Yeah.
And your sun, which is the chart ruler, opposes your ascendant. There's a lot of information in there, which we'll go into a different time for people.
Yeah, we'll have to do an episode just about our charts. Like we'll have to show a little bit our chart, or either a synastry chart or our individual charts.
We got plenty of these podcasts
let us know if you guys are interested, because then he could teach us how to read a chart by revealing.
We also have courses coming up.
Yes.
We're doing them. We're going to do them a little bit different. I don't like these like sit here and watch courses. I want to make it fun. I want to make it
so far
different.
Of the studying that I've done for herbalism, the physiology courses have been my favorite because the teachers actually like they give you a visual and then they're also talking. So like if you were teaching astrology, I would be able to learn by like you on one side and then the chart on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're speaking, I have a visual to connect it to, as opposed to some of the other courses that were like,
I've seen a lot of them where they're just talking at the
they're
camera.
just talking and it's
nothing.
like they're not giving me any kind of structure. Like how am I supposed to learn?
Like, my film days make me want to do like this like cool animation and visual effects and stuff. So I've kind of held off on doing this because I was thinking maybe we could, integrate our old filmmaking into something that's a bit more entertaining. Or I might just do the first course just simple and then bring that in later.
It's still going to be better than most courses. I mean, we just got off course. So back to astrology. Did
I answer that question?
Yeah.
Well,
oh, no. We were talking about sun sign compatibility.
Yeah, I didn't answer that.
No, you didn't.
So sun sign compatibility, the reason why it's all first off is in order to have a square. So my sun in Gemini and your sun in Pisces, in order for it to not be compatible, it would have to form a square within a certain orb of influence. So it has to be within a certain amount of degrees.
As you say these things, would you mind explaining what squares are for the people at home?
Yes, I'm sorry. I assume everybody knows. So a square is, I think of it as 3 houses apart. I also don't count houses like other astrologers. I do it my way. I do everything my way.
He does it his way.
I do it the way my brain accepts it because a lot of astrologers will count houses, including the house they're starting on. And I'm like, that's not how I count.
And that's great. Like, do it your way because you also have like thousands of people that have been case studies to affirm the way you do it. Yeah.
So it's 90 degrees is the angle that it needs to make within like 80.
But what energetically is a square? Like, let's assume these people don't know anything.
So a square just means
not that I'm assuming
it's causing friction. The textbook definition of a square is not usually accurate.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is usually they'll say it's 3 signs away. Sometimes it could be 4 signs away. It can vary because if you're talking about varying degrees, like 6 degrees difference between 90, so you're going up to 96 degrees, you could technically be in the next sign. So the textbook definition of a square doesn't really apply. But what it means in layman's terms is that there's friction, that the 2 signs fight each other. They conflict, and the houses conflict.
But that's not always a bad thing.
And that's the thing is I'm gonna have a video up about how trines are not always good and how squares are not always bad. And often it's the other way around. Like for instance, I have a grand trine and a kite aspect pattern. We'll get into that another time. In my chart, when something aspects, grand trine is 3 planets all trining each other, right? And they're pretty close in orbit, so it's a real grand trine. And if anything aspects, and I have a kite in there, so a 4th planet, if anything aspects any of those, if it's a bad aspect happening, it affects multiple areas of my life at the same time. And because mine includes my sun and my moon and Pluto, and it happens all the time because especially the moon.
But I like to think of that kind of energy, triangles are powerful symbols.
Yes. Unfortunately, a grand trine can make you lazy. I'm very fortunate to have a kite.
Yes. But I think also I don't know if it makes you lazy. I think it makes you dissociate a little bit because there's so much energy going on right now, cycling through each other, and you can get thrown out of balance so easily.
Well, what they say about a grand trine is that the energies work so harmoniously that you take the gifts for granted.
For granted.
And that's what makes you lazy. So like things
I would never describe you as lazy. Maybe complacent.
Yeah, sometimes.
Like
things are so easy in certain areas of my life that I'm just like whatever. And
you'll stress about your stress.
Well, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
That's my Uranus, Mars, Mercury issue.
Okay.
I have a whole thing with that.
You have a whole thing with Uranus?
With my anus. I mean Uranus.
Okay, so let's get back to compatibility.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that if our sun signs don't square each other,
Yeah.
So the signs square each other, but our degrees within don't. And that's why you can't use that. But even like myself and my youngest daughter, our sun's square. She's also a sun in Pisces, but we actually have sun square sun as a synastry aspect. And it's been interesting how it plays out because you also have to consider, and the problem is if you read, like if you Google sun square sun synastry and you read like 5 different websites definitions, you're going to get a bunch of different, a lot of them are similar, but none of them talk about the sign or the house. And that's so important. A square only means so much. A sun square sun means something, but then a sun in Gemini square a sun in Pisces, and then a sun in 11th house square a Pisces in the 8th house. Yeah, 11-8 would be the square. That has additional meaning, and they don't talk about that. Like none of the textbooks talk about this. So when people ask me, what textbook should I read? I'm always like, my knowledge of astrology. Would your
advice be just start learning astrology?
Yes, and like you have to go into it with like it's in my chart to do this, but you have to go in ready to research the hell out of everything and then use your own discernment, practice on people.
Yeah.
And then you figure out what works and what doesn't.
Dream astrology, it's kind of like what
and that's how I figured out that Placidus didn't work.
Yeah.
For me.
But getting back to compatibility, if you were to say, like, sun sign isn't the compatibility, but if you were to say, look at, would it be
like what's most important?
Yeah.
I would say if your moons are square or in conjunct, that would be very difficult. I would say if you're...
So it's not the sign, it's the aspects.
It's the aspects. It's not sign specifically. But even a moon square moon, like if you have other aspects that kind of...
I feel like those are meant to teach each other. If you can get past...
That's the thing, is
the struggle.
Do you want to deal with what comes from that?
It's kind of like a Saturn-like...
Yes.
Yeah.
It kind of has that like that restrictive feeling. Like it's like a Saturn meets Mars kind of...
Like there's benefits, but you have to work really hard.
Okay, so a good example of a square that was really beneficial for me, and this isn't synastry or compatibility, but I mean, kind of, it's me compatible with Los Angeles when I moved there, right?
Yeah.
Because you can do you in a place as synastry, but it was an astrocartography and whatnot. But I had my ascendant square Mars in my relocated chart, and that makes it very difficult. You come across as combative and disagreeable and can rub people the wrong way. You can have you can just feel like you...
Defensive?
Not necessarily, I mean, a little bit...
on the defense.
A little bit on the defense. Like you're definitely protecting anything that's personal to yourself.
Yeah, especially
if it's closer to the IC. But it's also like not feeling completely comfortable in the area. Like your home is never comfortable for you.
Yeah, you never wanted to stay at home.
But where it worked positively is it gives you drive to be something because it's squaring your ascendant to be something. Your ascendant is not happy in its current state. And Mars is always like, you're not going to sit there and do nothing.
But you had a strong Neptunian placement there that kind of made it hard to ground your dreams and like, you got stuff done, definitely, but there was a lot of like switching.
So it was a combination of figures. See, I didn't know astrology when I moved there like I know it now.
Yeah.
And I wish I did
like
because...
the last couple of years you were there.
Because Neptune moved into my 6th house. And there's, obviously more to it than that. But I ended up my midheaven ended up being Pisces as well. And to use that Neptune Pisces energy, I had to learn... I didn't learn through astrology. I wish I would have known because I could have told myself like I tell my clients. But basically, my career was not a straightforward line because Neptune is never straight to the point. It's all about figuring it out, and that's the path that ended up happening.
I feel like Neptune is also a bit about surrender.
Well, you have to surrender to.
It's like flow. You have to go with the flow. I mean, of course, there are parameters. You want to be based in as much reality as possible because Neptune can also just kind of carry you away.
It's addiction. It's illusion. You got to be really careful. But mine was in the house of health and the house of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was my midheaven.
Which is great when we were doing the comic book. And
well, that's the thing.
Creating. Like, you loved the creative part.
So my natal midheaven's in Taurus. So you have to combine them when you move.
Yeah.
So Pisces and Taurus is comic books, film, anything that's kind of like along that vein, anything creative like that. I even did promotion for nightclubs.
Yeah.
And that fell.
You guys want to hear his line that he would say to girls as they were walking by to see if they wanted to go to a club? Yo, titties. Oh, shit. Not to every girl, but apparently he said that and he could get away with it because
I'm a Leo rising.
So hot. Yeah, but you're also just super hot.
You got to remember that.
Like, if you say it with confidence, I would have been like, wait, what? It's hard because you're gorgeous.
Hey,
so,
titties.
Yeah.
Hey, titties, come here. Well, I'm just saying you look nice. You trying to get in the club tonight? You trying to dance? You trying to get some free drinks?
You trying to smash?
I got buy one, get 3 free. Go up and talk to Mikey.
I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I'm just loving like how you're saying it. And it's just so confident. I was a different person.
I was also buzzed all the time because I worked there. I buzzed what it was. Yeah,
it makes sense. It was a totally different time in your life.
Yes.
I was a bartender. Like, yeah. LA was a very interesting experience for me. But let's get back to
back to topic.
Cusps.
We're done with compatibility.
Well, I think we've gotten into. I mean,
it's complicated.
Would you say we didn't talk about Juno?
I do want to say, well, Juno's important.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Juno. We don't talk about Juno.
No. Okay, so we should do like a whole episode on love compatibility because
it is so complex.
It is so multifaceted.
I guess the only thing I really want to say in this segment about it is that there's no such thing as a perfect couple.
There's no such thing as a perfect couple.
Sun sign compatibility means very little.
Sun sign compatibility means little.
And you want to look at your inner planets and how they aspect outer planets. And a lot of astrologers kind of skip over that.
And you want to look at... No, you do that on purpose. You want to look at your inner planets and your outer planets because some astrologers forget about that. Titties.
A lot of astrologers ignore outer planets. They actually flat out say...
What is an example of an outer planet? You're talking Pluto?
Anything after Mars.
Nessus, like...
No, Nessus is an asteroid.
Okay.
Anything after Mars. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They don't count them in synastry because they're generational. But the thing is, they're
impactful though, man.
Your generational planets and where they sit and what's aspecting it.
Yes.
See, that's the thing that they don't pay attention to. And it drives me crazy when they're like, oh, they're generational. So like someone born the same year as me, obviously Pluto's going to be in the same spot.
Yeah.
But it's going to be in a different house. So you look at the house overlays, but you also look how my Pluto is aspected and how your Pluto, or someone exactly my age, how their Pluto is aspected.
Because we're not the same age. I'm much younger. So much younger.
But like if I have a well-aspected Pluto and yours is not well-aspected, then my Pluto conjunct your Pluto doesn't mean the same thing anymore. And that's important. The outer planets are not just throwaway planets. They're very important because they are deeper, longer lasting themes that go over your entire life.
Would you say that retrograde also plays?
Yes.
Yeah.
Retrograde is huge.
Yeah.
I'm either expressing a planet as it normally happens or I'm internalizing it.
Which is why some people, like whenever the blanket statement of, well, Mercury's in retrograde, so get ready to shit your pants verbally, that's
another one we should have wrote down too.
Yeah.
Because Mercury in retrograde, if you're born with Mercury in retrograde, you start thinking clear again.
Yeah. And for like business transactions and that kind of thing, it's actually favored around that time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, depending upon the rest of the chart.
It's great for us that have, or for me that has Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. I don't think I have many retrogrades.
You have retrogrades.
Okay.
I have most of my planets in retrograde.
Like most of your planets are retrograde.
All but 2.
Yeah. But it's like these astrologers or whatever you want to call them, pop culture people, they glaze over the importance.
2 important things that they do. One is they might not know that much about astrology.
Yeah.
They have a surface level understanding, and then they're promoting it like they're teachers.
They latch on to the like toxic side of it, you know?
They do that too. And two, they're social media astrologers, and they're just doing it for likes and clickbait. They don't really care if they're giving accurate information or not, because they're not trying to help you.
It's kind of like the tarot readers who are like, he really loves you.
He's got blue eyes.
Yeah.
He's from Northwest Germany.
Yeah. Claim this energy if you want it. It's like
Northwest Germany?
Yeah. The Hierophant's like, ask someone else. We'll get into tarot in another video, but
Actually, the Hierophant did come out in reverse. I had to flip it.
oh, really?
So it is literally ask someone else.
Ask someone else, baby. Let's see. Okay.
But yeah, we want to help people with Mystic Rebels, whether it's tarot, astrology.
Well, if you can use both or either one as therapy, you know, you have to use it. I mean, obviously tarot has more flexibility with your intuition, but, you know, once you understand a basic understanding of the energies of the planets and the houses, you can, you know, navigate a little bit easier. Obviously, you need to know the aspects, but
There's so much into astrology.
yeah, of course.
It's like you learn houses, and then you learn planets, then signs, then houses, then your major aspects, then your minor aspects, then asteroids.
Then you unlearn the things you learned
rulerships.
about all those things, and then you relearn them, which is what you've done. Because if you start in a different system, you
have to find out what
to
works for you. And like I said, whole science works for me. It's extremely accurate, very pinpoint. I mean, read the reviews on our site. It's like,
no, I mean, every reading you ever get is like, wow.
And
I'm
the
amazed.
beauty about doing whole signs is like I had that one.
If you want a reading from Logan, mysticrebels.com. He's amazing.
I had that one.
I'm not a liar.
I had that one client that had her birth time off of her certificate.
And it was wrong.
And it was a half hour off.
Yeah.
Because I got to the 4th or 5th house and she was just like, kind of.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
normally people are like creaming their pants with like validation.
Yeah, it's eerily accurate.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a mini birth chart rectification for her and found it to be 30 minutes off. That's how I knew. And then everything, she's like, oh crap, that's yes. And you know, it was
which
good
we
from
can
there.
do on our site as well.
Yes, we offer that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's move on to, I really want to talk about the moon.
Okay.
Because
do we want to skip cusps?
Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit
Cusps are not a thing. Let me do it real quick because I don't need to talk about this. Cusps are not a thing. The planet is where it is. It's at a degree. It's in one sign or it's in the other. There is energy bleed, and that is where it extends itself into another house, and it takes the energy from that house and puts it into another. So for me, for instance, I have Uranus at 0 degrees in Sagittarius in the 5th house because I'm a Leo rising. But that Uranus in Sagittarius pulls itself into the 4th house and brings the Sagittarian energy and also reaches into that Scorpio energy as well. That's all I want to say. Let's move on.
Okay. So decans are not a thing. The moon.
No. Decans are a thing.
Oh, excuse me. Cusps. I was thinking
Cusps are not
decans.
a
Like, do
thing.
you want to mention decans?
Cusps are just a line.
Yeah. But decans are a thing.
Well, decans are just 10 degrees. And they're pronounced decans and not deacons. Deacons are in the church system. Decans are in astrology. I've seen so many people, and I don't care that much. Like, pronounce it how you want.
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
but
You do care.
But
You
I am a
totally
little
care.
bit of a grammar Nazi with Saturn in the 3rd house, and so are you with the same placement.
No, that's not.
Right, of course not.
That's
But
not
deca means 10, and decans are 10 degrees. Let's move on.
Let's move on to
The moon. What do you want to talk about the moon?
Well, nobody talks about the moon. You know, of course they talk about the moon when
Like the
it's
full moon,
or
yeah.
new.
The new moon, full
But
moon.
beyond that, so they'll say a Taurus new moon is a great time to relax. Yeah, it's true, but it depends also where your Taurus is, right? And of course,
So,
you know, what is the moon? Let's start there.
the moon's a rock.
Thank you. It's your emotional security, right?
It's a lot of things.
Yes.
It's your emotional
But in
security.
this
It's
is
your nurturing.
nutshell.
It's your mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's your fears.
Yeah.
It's and it's a lot more things. I won't go completely. I have to do a whole video on the moon. Here's the thing about the moon is I didn't give it enough credit when I first started, and now I'm like obsessed with moon placements.
I know.
Hashtag obsessed.
Hashtag obsessed. Yeah, you used to get annoyed with me because I was like, you gotta look at the moon. What's going on with the moon? You're like, the moon doesn't matter. And now, every day, if one of us is, the beauty of it is the moon teaches us so much about its energy, depending upon how it's in your transits, my transits, or our daughters. I just did this in front of the camera. But I can be having a great day and you're like anxious and vice versa, of course.
Or you could have a great morning.
Yeah.
And then like at 2 p.m. you're like, the hell is going on?
Yeah, but the nice thing is,
so
many people are walking around going like, I was having a great day and now I'm having a bad day. And it's just going to be a bad day.
Yeah.
But once you understand that it's the moon's influence,
usually
you can use it. So like for me, I was having a really rough couple days, and it was some sort of Neptunian transit with the moon. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was last month, I think it was. And I was just really tired and kind of hazy. And I wasn't used to that. But as a psychic practitioner and a spiritual practitioner, we are very susceptible to, influence, especially as a woman, from the moon. And once we figured out what it was and that I needed to practice yoga, I needed to eat like light foods, I needed to drink a lot of water, I needed to breathe, I needed to
be around water,
I needed to go to the beach.
You needed to go live.
I needed to go live. I needed to use my spiritual gifts, because it almost felt like I was heightened psychically, but I was just drowning in psychic energy. It was very weird.
It's very draining.
Yeah.
Because you become so emotionally in tune.
Yeah.
With everything. That was moon aspecting your Neptune.
And then you had something with the moon aspecting Pluto recently that was rough, but it also, you were able to use it to figure out a new opportunity for us financially.
Oh yeah.
We helped each other out, but what's great about the moon is like, it seems to be something that you can use the moon as therapy. Would you agree? Like on a daily basis or as a guide?
It's a guide.
It's a guide.
Therapy, that's some shadow work stuff. You dive deep into your chart for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely as a guide. It's just that the moon means so many things, and people talk about the full moon and those pop culture astrology posts about the full moon and the portals and all these things, and you're just like, that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea of a manifestation portal, but I think, why wait once a year? And that's the other thing. People forget that the Lionsgate portal is every year.
Well, it is, but it's also, you're combining numerology with astrology, which is cool, but it doesn't really mean anything. It has astrologically on those dates, nothing. Did you hear anybody from those dates, 8/8? August 8th, actually say, hey, I did something amazing with my life? Like nobody, like if you looked at social media, nothing happened for most people.
I felt a little heightened energy, like.
But what was actually happening in your chart?
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's not a collective. And the other thing that bothers me with pop culture astrology and Lionsgate portals and Panther moons or whatever they want to call it is, if that were true, any of those things, that would mean that everybody in the world would be having an amazing day. We'd all win the lottery at the same time. Yeah. Or whatever.
When in actuality, there were a lot of people having a hard time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, you want hashtag positive vibes, and that's great.
Yeah.
Positive thinking is amazing because it leads to manifestation and motivation.
But it can also be toxic if you don't address what's real.
It's extremely toxic because you're now disconnected from reality.
Yeah.
And that's my problem is I see these posts. I did one on TikTok. I stitched with another astrologer. I've actually stitched with her twice. So people think that I'm like harping on her, but she just shows up every once in a while on my feed and I'm like, no. And
and she has millions of followers, so you're like, I have to say something, you guys.
Kind of. It's like, I'm not trying to like start anything. I just, when I see that.
Something, got to be starting something, wanna be starting something.
Whoa. When I see these kinds of like, they're just wrong. It's basic. A disservice. Well, it's basic, but it's wrong.
Yeah.
And you're doing people a disservice. You're feeding into people's addictions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an astrologer and you care about your craft and have any sort of like integrity,
pride,
integrity,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't be misleading people. And I try so hard not to mislead people. I'll even go back and correct things. Like I had to go back and correct. I had a post up about if astrology isn't real, then why is ... Oh,
the holidays.
And spring break for some is in Taurus. In the United States, it's actually in Aries. So it's not relax and go eat food. For us, it's always go do something for me. It's always where are you going for spring break? And I get
that was never my experience with spring break.
That's most people, right? Because it's an Aries thing. And Easter.
Titties.
Easter, I mentioned, was the last decan of Pisces, which is when the transitional full moon happens. But people are like, it's an Aries season. It's like, yes, it was always based off of the pagan tradition at the cusp. That's a proper use of the word cusp.
There you go.
Which is, and what's interesting, Pisces is the end of a journey. And the last decan of Pisces is Scorpio, which is transformation. And then it goes into Aries, which is as primitive you can be, is Aries.
Like a newborn baby.
Yes.
That's the fool card right there.
It is the baby. It's the baby of the zodiac, and you're in the baby energy of the baby sign.
Yeah. Our daughter has a moon in Aries. So her emotions can be a little like quick to act on it without thinking, which is
it's
kind of
complex, but
yeah, it's much more complex than that. But the nice thing about it is she gets over it super fast.
Yes, there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
The moon, though, understanding where it is in your chart, and this leads to we were going to ask if horoscopes are real.
Oh yeah,
horoscopes. We talked
about that
a little bit. Horoscopes can be real. You have to use your rising sign, not your sun sign. That's kind of what we talked about before.
Well, it depends because most of those people aren't astrologers doing the horoscopes.
If it's real. If the horoscopes are not just BS, someone typed it and said, if you're a Libra today, you're going to, sit on a comfy couch.
Oh my God, I so did that today.
Right? And they're always so like vague.
Yeah.
Which it's really hard to talk about that anyway, because you're talking about like, let's say the moon is aspecting Venus, right? It's trying with Venus. So it's like, emotional fulfillment with food or with money or whatever. But it can also be that
shopping.
Or it can also mean that you lost a lot of money and now you're depressed. That's the same energy because they're tied together in a positive way on a negative thing.
Yeah. It just manifests different for everyone.
And the reason the moon is so important is because we are emotional creatures.
Yes.
We use emotion more than we use logic. And speaking of logic, sometimes you don't feel like your sun sign anyway.
Yeah.
Because your Mercury isn't in the same sign.
Yeah, so because your Mercury's in the same sign.
And so is yours.
And so is mine.
But our daughter's is not. So she doesn't think her identity, your sun's not your identity.
Yeah.
Your Mercury's your identity. Your third house is your identity. So for her identity is an Aquarian identity.
And you can
but she
see
shines.
It in her eyes,
you can see it when
like
she's
how she processes everything. She wants to figure it out.
But she's a Pisces sun.
Yeah. So she's got that like purity in her eyes and sweetness.
But detachment.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like she'll want to be close to us.
But you can't.
Or she's really clingy and wants to be held for a while until she doesn't want to be. She's like a cat. I like to think of her.
And she's
like
a Leo rising. She literally is our little kitty.
You pet her a couple times and then eventually she takes your hand. She doesn't just like push it away. She'll take it and be like, "Thank you. I'm done with that. Thanks. That was really nice for me. And now I'm done."
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to add to the moon thing.
Okay. There are no rules. We're good.
I think and talk in tangents anyway.
No.
Yeah. The moon is one of those transits. It's like you notice it right away because it hits us out of nowhere. Because it moves so fast, it comes and goes into a planetary aspect so quickly.
Where's the moon right now?
I should know this. It is in Taurus.
It was in Taurus.
It is in Taurus.
It still is?
It was in the first decan of Taurus. By now, it's probably moving into the second decan. So by tonight into tomorrow morning, it'll be aspecting my Venus and your moon.
Okay.
But it happens so quickly that it's a couple of hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like something can hit and you got to be aware that that's happened and how to use that energy, because you only have a small window to use that moon energy.
We should really create an app.
We are creating an app.
No, I know, but
Mystic
like
Rebels.
just a moon app that's super easy to keep track of, and you know.
It would be good. I would have to figure out how the algorithm would work, because where the moon is not as important as does it aspect anything.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it would be about their
What
chart
house is it
and
in?
the moon. Yeah.
So for me, like the moon is in my 10th house right now, natally speaking. So my career is what I'm thinking about. You saw me all day today. That's and it was over my midheaven.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt the need to go.
And you expressed that. You were like, I have to work today. And I said, okay, we'll make it happen.
And that's the thing. It's your emotional needs. And if you ignore your emotional needs, it manifests in a different way. And you don't want it to come out the other way. You have to kind of give into these energies.
Well, it's kind of like what I like to think with the magician card. You know, he's a lightning rod, or she, whatever deck it is, and unless you discharge that energy, you know, unless you have a constant surge of energy and flow coming out of you and into you and all of that, it's combustible. You know, like, and for you had to work today.
Yes.
And you work every day.
Yes.
But it was different today. It was like, I need to know that you're okay with me working. It was like an emotional thing.
And it's coupled with intuition. And it's because it rules the 4th house. And typically speaking, not always, but the IC is usually at the cusp of the 4th house in many house systems, not in whole signs. But at some point, you know, the moon is typically tied in some way or another, Cancer as well, to the IC. And that's a whole other discussion. But it's things that are very, very personal to you.
Is the moon, okay, obviously we're not going to get into the houses. We got to do that in another video. But the moon is tied to the home, right? Yeah. Okay.
The home, the family, anything that's personal.
Like
it rules
security.
Cancer, rules the 4th house, your emotional security, So it's anything that has to do with anything deeply personal, usually the things that the public is unaware of about you.
Like behind the scenes.
Well, that's more 12th house.
Okay.
Hidden is 8th house.
Okay.
4th is personal. All of them are hidden because they're emotional.
Yeah.
They're the water signs. 4, 8, 12. All water signs all have to do with things that other people don't know about you. Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's how emotions work, because emotions are under the surface until you express them.
Yep.
And then how you express them is where the moon is in your chart.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with astrology, but if you have trapped emotions, you actually trap them in your body. And doing things like energetic movement, yoga, walking, breath work, you can actually release years of trauma from your body just by exercising or moving your body in an intentional way.
Well, it is astrological.
Is it?
Easily.
Okay.
I'll take me. Somebody who's
I'll take you.
somebody who's trapped a lot of stress in my body for so many years of my life. And I'm already a moon in Aquarius. So Aquarius is the water bearer. So they're detached from their emotions. They're very emotionally intelligent, but they don't deal with their emotions. And what happens with a moon in Aquarius is if they don't deal with it, it'll come out somewhere else and it'll be repressed to the point where they can't hold any more water. And it explodes.
Yep.
It's not like a Capricorn explosion, but it's over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So a moon in Aquarius has to learn how to they naturally compartmentalize emotions, but they have to deal with them within a timely manner, right? They're not going to change Aquarian energy, but they have to deal with them.
Yeah. That
stress. So for me, moon's in Aquarius. Aquarius ruler is Uranus. Uranus is in my 5th house. 5th house Uranus aspects my Mercury and therefore my Mars. So all of it is tied into my mental, and that's why I'm so high strung mentally. And when I'm emotional, I'm more frustrated and like, if I can't figure something out, it really irks me.
Yeah.
Because I'm emotionally tied to my thoughts. And that's why sometimes
you'll be
like...
with Mars, you're also emotionally tied to your results, to your action.
Yes. But sometimes you'll be like, whoa, what just happened? You'll watch me flip emotions. Like, how'd you just go sad to happy to excited to angry to whatever?
Yeah.
And it's because with Uranus.
It's because what? Okay, can I just give you an observation?
Go ahead.
I feel like with a moon in Aquarius, you are thinking about your previous either emotional attachment to something, and you don't necessarily process it until something triggers a similar response in the mind or the nervous system. And then you remember that feeling that you repressed, and therefore you're like experiencing several emotions that you haven't expressed all at
You're
once.
conflating though.
Okay.
That's not moon in Aquarius. That is my
That's
moon.
Just you.
That's my moon trine Pluto.
Okay. Oh,
that's the things
okay.
from the past. Pluto rules the past.
Oh, okay.
That's that.
Okay.
For me, it is moon in Aquarius, Aquarius ruler, Uranus aspecting Mercury. And that's why you're seeing my emotions change based on my thoughts. And that Mercury is in Gemini already.
Okay.
So it all ties together. And this is the type of stuff that you want to learn about yourself and your partner and your children in astrology.
See, I read people's energy psychically, and like I can see and hear your thought processes sometimes. I don't necessarily hear what you're saying all the time, but I can hear it's the tone. But yeah, and it's like if you're judgmental towards yourself, and sometimes you're just like you look like you're angry and you want to murder someone, but I don't get any vibe from you. You're just like,
no.
I wonder if that leaf had orange in it. You know, I mean, it's like you're thinking about.
You remember when we used to be on set when I was directing and producing?
Yes. We had these sweet little actresses that would come up to me and be like, Ashley, is Logan mad at me? It's like, well, what do you mean? What's going on? Did he say something? She goes, no, just keeps looking at me like he's mad at me. And I'll look over and Logan's like he wants to kill someone, and I just laugh.
And the funny thing is I'm not looking at them at all.
No, I know.
I'm like, staring into nothing.
I told them that. I was like, it's not you, baby. That's him thinking. Yeah. Like that's his mental process. Our daughter doesn't do it to the same extent, but she does look a little pissed. Like she'll look a little pissed off.
It's all tied
You'll look
for me.
Like you're ready to murder someone. And it reminds me of the
Mars
meme.
And Pluto.
There's a meme where a woman is laying next to her boyfriend or husband, and he's obviously thinking about something, and she's laying on the side going like, I bet he's thinking about that girl. And he's thinking about like
what's really in baloney?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's like so childlike almost.
Yeah. And people get that misconception from me all the time, and it's just that's the thing is you got to understand the energies in your chart anyway.
Well, and you have Mars in the 3rd. So like we've had people where you'll say something and you'll have a very strong opinion, and I'll say the exact same thing, but they'll get mad at you about what you just said. You know, I have a more delicate way of saying things because I have my Mars and Venus.
Yeah, so
together.
my Mercury trines my Mars, both in air signs.
Yeah.
And you're talking about
it's fast.
It's fast and it's passionate, furious, and it's like because it's Gemini Libra, it comes across as I know and you don't.
Well, is that wrong?
No, but but I don't want it to sound that way.
But to be fair, when you don't know something,
I shut the F up. That's the funny thing is people are like, you're a know-it-all, and I'm like, pay attention, because if we're in a conversation, I don't know something, suddenly Logan doesn't speak.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to come out sound stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
intentionally.
I think sometimes I speak in questions because I'll be like, I think I have an understanding of the energy, but I want clarification, as opposed to saying, you know, this is what you're doing, this is the energy. And, you know, it's when we're in a finite place, that's the problem. That's hard to unlearn. It's also tough because, and I work as much as I can to balance this, but like Mercury and Gemini speaks in facts anyway. Mm-hmm. So it always sounds black and white from a Mercury and Gemini. And is Gemini, because you have that dual nature within Gemini, so how does that manifest as a Mercury energy?
Well, mine's a little different because of the trine with Mars and Libra.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think of every angle possible.
Okay.
Not every Gemini does that, but Geminis like to see things from more than one perspective.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not like Libra as much, where it's more
I feel
balanced
like
and
that
tactful.
Gemini is you talk about
They
devil's
change their
advocate.
minds. Yes. Oh, yes, that's
Yeah.
me for sure.
Like shit disturber a little bit.
Well, because
in
you
a
don't.
fun way for some.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Gemini will say one thing and then do something else.
Mm-hmm.
They'll literally say, and I do this all the time, I don't eat Oreos. And literally the next day, someone will have an Oreo. I'll be like, damn it, give it to me.
Or you'll say things like, I cannot have sugar, Ashley.
And then I'll
Don't
go
offer me
eat an
sugar.
apple pie.
And then you go get a freaking banana bread. It's okay, it's gluten-free. I'm like, and then you get mad at me. Because
To be fair, I understand that gluten-free does not mean healthy.
okay.
Neither does vegan or any of those other labels that they market.
I mean,
to
neither
people.
does keto, all that stuff.
It's all
you know.
fake.
It's all, yeah.
Organic isn't even.
What matters is the ingredients and like gluten-free
and the sourcing
can mean a
and the
lot
processing.
of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be corn. It can be soy.
Yeah.
You know.
Gluten-free could be sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And they do that all the time. They'll market something they'll market like gluten-free on it. And you're just like, why would anyone think otherwise?
Well, when we went gluten-free years ago, I gained a bunch of weight as a result because I was like, I don't understand, it's gluten-free. That's how I used to talk. No.
That's why we're married.
That's what'd you say? But no, the same thing happened to me years before that when I tried vegan for 30 days and I ate a ton of bread and bread-like products and it's okay, I'm not eating meat, not eating butter was really hard. That'll never happen again. I can't do the vegan
thing.
We're talking about astrology, but we started talking about food, and I am a moon in Taurus,
and we're coming up on the food. You're gonna eat tonight and tomorrow. Yep,
I'm hungry
because that's the moon. The moon is so important. We're gonna do a whole video on the moon. It is so important.
I love it. Let's see. There was.
Did we get them all? I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
This is a good podcast
this
episode.
Was fun.
I wanted to hear you talk more about, that kind of stuff too.
Which part, honey? You can ask me my understanding of these things, and I can tell you what I think I know, or what I think I understand.
It's interesting to me. Can I put you on blast for a second?
Oh, okay. You want to hear me talk, but then you want to start talking? Okay.
Because you're going to react to this.
Oh, okay.
When I talk about the negative aspects of Pisces or Neptune, you don't like that.
No, I don't like when you talk about the negative aspects of any of the stuff. Because I don't view them as negative. I view them as lessons. And I also think that Neptune in particular and Pisces is misunderstood.
Neptune is misunderstanding.
Yeah. But what I mean is when you look at the different categories within the houses, so like the fourth house being connected to the moon and Cancer and home and the mother and all this other stuff. You go down the list of all the different variations. You get to Pisces, which is illusion, hospitals, confinement specifically, but it's also spirituality and connection to spirit and higher realms of consciousness. And it's like
there's pros and cons to both. There are lower vibrational aspects to a sign,
yes,
and higher vibrational.
But I think that my other thing is I don't believe in mental illness in the Western medicine sense. So when Pisces is represented by hospitals and like institutions and that kind of thing, I feel like those are the last place that energy should be.
Okay, so Pisces has to do with the end of a cycle.
To check our child. Keep
it
talking,
has
baby.
To do with not knowing.
She's good.
It's unknowing. That's like the main thing is unknowing, right?
But isn't that more like behind the veil, like the veil of secrets, high priestess?
It depends on how it is. Like I said, 4th, 8th, and 12th are all hidden in one way or another.
Yeah.
The 12th house is behind the scenes.
But what's interesting about
can be
your
the veil as
interpretation
well.
of Pisces and your aversion to Pisces from the moment we met, I mean, prior to even meeting me, you have had like this issue with Pisces because you've been very resistant to your own emotions. And it hasn't been until the last couple years that you've started saying that we are energetic, emotional beings.
So this is kind of
Let me finish, please.
Let me mental note. Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
or you can just let it go. Maybe it doesn't matter. Let it go. What? But what? Oh God, what was I saying before you interrupted me?
Emotions. Aversion to Pisces.
Oh yes, your aversion to Pisces. You met me, your soulmate and the woman of your dreams, whatever. Pisces Sun, Pisces Mercury. Yes.
Soulmate, right?
And then we have our daughter who comes out of a Pisces.
Yeah, and my other daughter is a Cancer.
Yeah, you've got
and my North Node is in 12th house.
Of reminders of how you need to connect to your emotions.
Well, the thing is, this is lower vibrational to higher vibrational. Understanding your purpose. I remember I'm a moon in Aquarius. We detach from emotion. So when someone's emotional, we're like, right? And then understanding for me.
When someone's processing their emotions outward.
Right.
If someone's just.
That's being emotional.
We're always
contextually.
Emotional. Okay.
And then understanding later, though, that my moon and my Pluto are trine with each other.
Yeah.
And there's so much more that goes in with that. And that Neptune is the tail of my kite.
And then realizing that emotions can be a huge part of your power. You know, I remember when we first moved to Florida, and I now live on a Neptune line.
Neptune IC.
Neptune IC. And it was... When we first moved here, I mean, I was also in mourning of my mother who passed and in a new place where I didn't know anyone. So there was the isolation. So there was like a sense of confinement because I didn't want to leave the house, but that's also being a new mother. And then I had postpartum depression, which is really just learning to assimilate in your skin as a mother, you know, because you're no longer like before we had our child, I was a completely different person, fundamentally speaking. And that all shifts. But being on the Neptune IC line, it slowly but surely drove me and directed me towards the spiritual path that I was meant to be on. But it wasn't until I surrendered and was like, okay, I'm done. Like I was trying to have so much structure in our lives. I'm sure you remember. And because I listened to all the bullshit that people say, like your daughter's supposed to take naps and look at your face. And yes, I will admit that you told me long before we had her while I was watching videos in our old house, don't listen to them and you know better. And, you know, but I was also not in a place yet that I truly trusted my own wisdom. And coming to Florida, and that's not real. And
it is.
do you want some ginger tea with lemon and honey?
No.
Okay, water's fine. You can drink on camera. But people are gonna think you're drinking out of like it's booze. It's not. It's a bottle of water.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, baby. Hydrate, everyone. Need to hydrate. But I never thought I could have a career in spirituality, nor could I have a career as a spiritual healer. And once I said, fuck it, I'm done trying to structure everything, trying to do everything based on what other people might think, I'm done. I'm going to just roll with it. And I... Okay. And I submitted. Go ahead, honey.
I told you all these things.
Oh, I just said that. But
of
course,
all of these things.
Yeah.
But it's difficult.
But the way you say things sometimes isn't the most loving way. It's more like, you shouldn't listen to them. Like you don't make a case behind what you're saying.
Yes, I do.
No.
You only hear the first part.
No. What? But
it's going to get down. It's going to get real.
It's not a loving way that you say it.
No, I do not speak compassionately.
Not always. Sometimes you definitely
usually.
do. Yeah. sometimes when you have a thought that you also don't think about the way you're going to say something.
Not
like I
usually.
do, like I will assess a person in a situation and I will adjust accordingly. The Pisces is also the chameleon. Like I feel like you're able to, or shapeshifter. Is that what you've called it
Either.
before? Yeah. So I think it's also having the intuition of how you're supposed to assimilate in a situation. Like when you're super angry.
No.
Okay.
Some of that is accurate. But the reason why you have that is because your Mercury and your Sun are in the 7th house.
Oh, okay.
Which is Libra ruled.
Okay.
Normally. That's why that plays out that way for you.
So balancing of the scales.
It's a tactful approach to things, and then you do it with compassion because of the Pisces.
Compassion. I'm not compassionate. I'm
even
tough.
At your own detriment, usually, because it
used to
your
be
ascendant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I used to be more of a people pleaser.
Well, it's going to be less here because it's no longer opposing. I mean, natally it is, but your relocated chart has shifted this. But your Neptune on the IC, we corrected a lot of things. Like you having yoga class and you practicing spirituality, you living near the water. All these things are very important for 4th house.
Yeah.
To have, Neptune
Yep.
there. And because its energy on the negative side is that you don't feel grounded. It's hard to set down roots. It doesn't feel like home. So
I have to ground
use the energy to make it
spiritually.
home.
It's a different kind of grounding.
That's what I mean. But like in a normal sense, it doesn't work that way.
But then you also have to get rid of the normal sense with that energy.
With Neptune, absolutely.
Yeah. So like it's hard as a new mother. As a new parent in general, because you're told that structure is what your child needs, and it's probably true for some babies and
it's
some
different
families.
for everyone.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of having a natal chart for your child read.
Yes, and she did not want to nap, and she didn't want to go to bed at certain times, and I think I put her down. They say put them down drowsy but awake.
And here's the thing. This is what's important for you to understand.
Yeah.
Your 5th house is in Capricorn.
Yeah.
That is structure in children.
Yeah.
With Neptune in there.
Yeah.
So that's no structure.
Yeah.
That's go with the flow. Make your rules as they apply.
Yes. And that works. I mean, we do have
that's
some
why it didn't
structure.
work for you. But that's why it didn't work for you.
Yeah.
Because your energy literally does not support that.
Yeah.
And if you're a parent, if anyone out there who's listening is a parent, they need to know their own natal chart of how they parent.
Yes.
They
also need to know their synastry with their child.
Right, because their energy interacts with your energy
and there are
differently.
some parents that don't get why they feel one way about one child and one way about another.
That's all in your chart too.
Yeah. It's a lot, you guys. But that's a great stopping point, right? Yeah. We could go all night.
We could and we shouldn't.
But not just about astrology. Just like I could just look into those eyes and talk to you about anything. You're so cute. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us. And I think the next one is going to be about tarot.
We'll flip the tarot.
And I'll be able to talk a bit more because I know some facts that he doesn't about tarot. What? Oh, snippity snaps. You don't know these things.
I probably don't.
No. But you will once I say
Even
them.
as a tarot reader, I'm not as into tarot as this one.
Yeah. Well, you're new to it relatively.
I'm newer to it, yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. You're an amazing tarot reader.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you. I love you so much. I love you. All right.
Make your spouse or your partner laugh. That's how you keep a relationship strong.
And keep it strong like Donkey Kong. I don't know.
We're leaving.
We're leaving.
Toodles.
Toodles. Mystic Rebels out. Pew.